Happy New Year, Rich. I hope your year is off to a good start so far.
Happy New Year, and it is. I'm talking with you.
Yeah, and I've got way better internet today. I'm on mainland Portugal. It's our last day on the mainland. We've had a fantastic day today.
Well, good. Nice start to 2023.
It is a very, very nice start. So speaking of Happy New Year and 2023, let's have a year in review of gold and precious metals. What your thoughts are on the past year and on the year to come.
Fantastic. Yeah. Last year, we talked a lot. We spoke every month, obviously, but we talked a lot about when is gold going to do its job. And, I basically kept saying the same thing all year long, like a broken record. It is doing its job. Gold's role in a deflationary environment for assets is to basically fall slower than everything else, maintain your purchasing power better in a deflationary environment. And at the end of the day, that's exactly what gold did, in an environment where, the Dow lost 1/11 of its value. The S&P 500 lost nearly 1/5 of its value. The NASDAQ lost nearly 1/3 of its value, and Bitcoin lost 2/3 of its value. Gold was basically flat. It lost for the year less than 0.3% when all was said and done on December 31st. Silver was up almost 3%, 2.9% for the year. Palladium was up 1.3% for the year, and platinum was up 12% for the year. And I'll just throw in oil as well. Oil was a slight winner, 1.7% to the positive last year as well. And it just kind of earmarks that commodities did pretty well in last year's environment. And what I really want to kind of take away from last year is the performance of the last quarter. In the last quarter, the dollar was off to a flying start last year. At one point, it was up nearly 18 to 20%. And in the last 90 days of the year, it gave half of that back. So the dollar ended up only about 10% up for the year. And gold in that time was appreciating 10%. Pretty strong correlation between the dollar and gold. When one goes up, the other goes down. And that's what we saw the final quarter of last year. And then silver over that last 90 days was up 25%. And, that gives you the idea of how much potential silver has to the upside once both metals are moving up. Right. We talked about it's a smaller market, less capitalized, and it has a greater chance of shooting up when people start buying into the precious metals market. It tends to follow gold, then outpace it, both to the upside and to the downside. But now we're looking at the upside. And I think the strength of the last quarter of last year portends for higher prices this coming year, as this idea of greed giving way to fear, people now buying what they need, not necessarily what they want or hope to get in terms of appreciation.
Right. And you mentioned the dollar and the strength of the dollar in the beginning of the year. And now with us being in Europe at this point, I sure notice it's nice having the US dollar and the euro were almost par when we first arrived here. So
nice to travel with dollars, US dollars in your pocket right now. Although I think that's going to be fleeting. I think we're seeing already the dollar giving back that strength. And I think that's going to continue into this year. We shall see. Who knows? All the currencies are racing to the bottom, if you will. But the dollar gave back 10% in just 90 days. It sure looks like we're in a weakening trend right now, not a strengthening one. I think that's going to continue into 2023.
Now, this morning when I went out for a walk, Rich, I had mentioned that we're in Portugal right now. Yeah. And of course, they have rivers and the beautiful medieval bridges over the rivers. And there were swans in the river, and there was a black swan in the river. And I've never seen a black swan ever. And I knew I was talking with you today, and it made me think, I wonder what Rich has to say about a possible Black Swan event, if something like that could happen in 2023. So for those who don't know what a Black Swan event is, could you briefly describe that and give your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, plain and simple, it's something that nobody saw coming. Right. Because how rare is it? You didn't expect to see it. And all of a sudden, oh my gosh, there's this one swan that's different from all the rest. Nobody could have seen that coming. Right. That's the idea of a black swan. And in financial markets, a Black Swan event is something that nobody could have possibly seen coming. Now, I think if you go back and you just bill and you do your homework, you probably could have seen a lot of these things coming. And if I had to pick one event that could be a black swan event for this coming year, I'd be watching debt. I, you know, I hear Jerome Powell talk after the FOMC meetings and his Q&As, and he's talking about the strength, the fiscal strength of the households in America. And, you know, I'm seeing figures that suggest that credit card debt is over $1 trillion. Seeing figures that suggest 1/3 of US households are making late payments on bills. And I get the feeling in this environment that people are using credit to pay bills, needs, not wants, needs they're using credit for, and that's running out. They've tapped out their savings, they've tapped out their equity lines or what have you, and now they're going to their credit card to pay their bills. This is not fiscal strength, and I think there's going to be problems with debt this coming year at every level. And I hope to God I'm wrong. But if I were going to say there's a black swan event that nobody saw coming, I think it's going to be debt and what it does to individual, corporate, and governmental finances.
I think you're right. And I have said that to myself so many times, what you just said. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I've said that so many
Nobody wants
times.
anybody to go through that, obviously. So
No, not at all. Rich, thank you so much for your time today and your insights and update on the market and what your thoughts are for the coming year.
no worries, no worries. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a great year.